Hello, hello. We are here with another book club day. This month, we decided to kick 2022 off with the book, The Fourth Industrial Revolution by Klaus Schwab. Now, I'm really happy because all of the ladies that are joining today have actually taken my Intro to Crypto class. So, the Fourth Industrial Revolution is not something that they are unaware of. Although, 99% of the world still is, it might be a little less since, time's gone. It might be down to 97% of the world that still has no idea that this revolution is happening or coming or whatever the case may be. But we know this, and not only do we know this, but this month we're taking the time to read this book from the people that are creating this revolution and the outline of this revolution, and about to dive in. So before we dive into the conversation with the ladies who all have thought about their 5-year plan and how the Fourth Industrial Revolution will affect it, I want to read some of the book to really let our listeners know what this book is about and what the Fourth Industrial Revolution is about. So this is from Mark R. Benioff, the chairman and CEO of Salesforce and a member of the World Economic Forum Board of Trustees. The Fourth Industrial Revolution is an important book for understanding the major trends shaping our world. It provides a way of thinking and analyzing the historic changes taking place so that we can collectively create an empowering, prosperous, human-centered future for all. I'm sure that you will gain valuable insights for navigating the future from reading this fascinating book. And I can say again, whether you are for the revolution or against the revolution, it doesn't matter. We see it's happening, whether we like it or not. So we have to be knowledgeable of what's happening so that we can be a part of it, right? So that way we can create something that works for us in the system rather than just letting the system create itself and then be subject to whatever and then complain about it, right? We don't get this opportunity too much. So it's really great to be able to dive in. So I'm going to read a little bit more from the intro there. So we are witnessing profound shifts across all industries marked by the emergence of new business models, the disruption of incumbents, and the reshaping of the production, consumption, transportation, and delivery systems. On the social front, a paradigm shift is underway in how we work and communicate, as well as how we express, inform, and entertain ourselves. Equally, governments and institutions are being reshaped, as are systems of education, healthcare, and transportation, amongst many other things. New ways of using technology to change behavior and our systems of production and consumption also offer the potential of supporting the regeneration and preservation of natural environments rather than creating hidden costs in the form of externalities. The changes are historic in terms of their size, speed, and scope, while the profound uncertainties surrounding the development and adoption of emerging technologies mean that we do not yet know how the transformations driven by this industrial revolution will unfold. Their complexities and their interconnectedness across sectors imply that all stakeholders of global society, governments, business, academia, and civil society have a responsibility to work together to better understand the emerging trends. Shared understanding is particularly critical if we are to shape a collective future that reflects common objectives and values. We must have a comprehensive and globally shared view of how technology is changing our lives and those of future generations, and how it's reshaping economic, social, cultural, human contexts in which we live. So that's what I wanted to read from the intro. Something else we had talked about right before we got started is how Klaus Schwab, the author here, is also, again, the founder and executive chairman of the World Economic Forum, where they also host Davos, which is currently happening. And again, because we understand that we all have to be taking part of this, we're all paying attention and here to share. So I think I've done enough talking so far. Ladies, who wants to get it started with what y'all I gotta say about this book. Okay, we talked about our 5-year plans last book club, which wasn't recorded, but we all shared them. And now we're gonna take a step back and say, okay, after reading this book, where are some of the changes that you can see made, or how this revolution will affect your 5-year plan? So, who wants to kick it off? Zay, I know you've been ready.
I I would like to kick it off.
Okay, please.
Okay, so and I wrote everything down this time, so I can't mess this up because I thought about
Yes,
this so well.
let's
Okay,
do
so
it.
the fourth industrial revolution, it actually helps my 5-year plan tremendously. It gives me the ability to flourish as an animal fur NFT fashion designer. I see my projects selling out on OpenSea in 5 years. I see me in the next 5 years having my own DAO dedicated, obviously, to animal fashion, as well as blockchains helping me as an animal breeder. I see me in the next 5 years teaching and making income about the fourth industrial revolution and helping anyone who was left behind. I just see a whole big, beautiful future. And that's all I have for my 5-year plan. But that was a lot for my 5-year plan. So
No, that's
that's what I.
good. No, that's really good. And so what were some of the things that I would say that maybe stuck out while reading that made you want to like some of the things that you've added now is like you want to have a DAO and you want to be teaching this information as well, which you literally can. All of us been putting in this work. We know a lot more than a lot of these other people, especially these YouTubers who aren't even, oh yeah, they trade in crypto. Cool, but you're just following Instagram and meme coins or whatever. Like, are you really paying attention to what's really happening? And your
Right.
goals have already changed to say, hey, I understand what's happening. I'm trying to build ecosystems. I'm trying to educate. But were there any things while reading that, especially with the animals, that kind of stuck out to you that you wanted to touch on at all?
It was really honestly, it's always been the blockchain itself. The blockchain is a beautiful, beautiful new thing to come into play because you can't get anything wrong with the blockchain. Like the transactions are final, and if they're accurate enough that you can have birth certificates of animals, death certificates, just purchases. That just really changes the whole game. So I've really been digging into blockchains, especially after reading this book, because it gave examples like even not animals, but even people like getting married. That you can get
Right.
married and have that on the blockchain. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, whoa, I'm about to marry my husband again just to do that. Like the blockchain is just a new, I don't know. I can go on and on for days, just like you can with the fourth industrial revolution with blockchains, but
Hmm.
it's really, really, truly a game changer. And it's not nobody in the middle telling you what you spent or what you didn't spend. It's just like accurate information. So it can't be abused, which is the beautiful thing about it.
That's a good point. And I'm gonna touch on a point made on page 55, which is this is the appendix called the deep shift, where they really dove into these different topics. So this is shift 16, which is Bitcoin and the blockchain. Like Zay was just saying, is so important to this. And it says the tipping point. Because one thing, let me touch on this deep shift too in this back of the book, y'all. Let me go over the context, because last time during book club we went over the table of context. We broke this whole outline down. So the deep shift, right? That's from page 120 to 170, and it's crazy because when you look at it, each chapter in this section is only like 2 pages, and they're like bullets because they have a section, the tipping point by 2025, the positive impacts and the negative impacts. And it was astonishing reading this, because it's like thinking, oh, this is somebody who's really planning their future like we all do. We all got notebooks and calendars, and they're outlining it, put it in a book, with their friends, and published it. It really gives us this insight on what they're thinking. And they, a lot of times they say 2025, which is something I always tell people, 2025, a lot of this stuff you'll see an effect. So that even lets us know, we're 3 years into this 5-year plan. So a lot of us had even said last time we're looking at more like 2030 and, a few more years than 5 at this point. But back to blockchain, it says the tipping point is 10% of global gross domestic product will be stored on blockchain technology. Okay, and 58% of respondents, it says by 2025, 50% of correspondents expected this tipping point to have occurred. And, oh yes, this is the other thing that they include in these sections is the shift in action. And this is the point that Zay was just making that I wanted to read, which says smartcontracts.com provides programmable contracts that do payouts between two parties once certain criteria have been met, without involving a middleman. These contracts have secured in the blockchain as self-executing contractual states, which eliminate the risk of relying on others to follow through on their commitments. And again, that just changes so many business models. Think there are so many business models that are just built around being that middleman, because people know that that middleman is so valuable that now they're about to be able to autonomize it and put it on the blockchain so that you can create it. And they always use that shipping example, right? It's like, oh, if you got a shipment and you deliver it, you're getting paid by weight. The driver is getting paid instantly upon delivery, and all these different things start becoming instant. They even gave an example before. I'm not sure. I didn't read it in this book, but you'll start getting paid daily, hourly, minutely. Like that's how instant those transactions can be, so that as you're working, you're getting paid for that because it's in the smart contract. You've completed a minute of work, so you'll get paid for that minute of work. That's how these smart contracts and blockchain are about to be able to store that and execute it. So great point, Zay. Thanks for sharing. Who wants to go next? Don't make me start. Okay, CJ, I was say, don't make me call on y'all.
Calling us out.
No.
That's great. I think that one of the things in the book that really stood out to me is that I think it's awesome that you put your goals out like really like that. That was really cool. The
Thank
disruption
you.
of jobs and skills. Disruption of jobs and skills. So where it affects me, because I've been in like the workplace, as I tell my age, I've been in the workplace over 20 something years. And it's this whole space of the mentality of what a job is doing and what are you doing as a job, and realizing that those things are going to be replaced. So investing in those things that are replacing those is that's where my focus is, and as well as building in this ecosystem and trying to be confident in my skills that I do have. But the disruption in the job is happening currently, and the skills trade, like customer service or contact centers or call centers, and that's where I can see it happening now. That bots and different things are changing that landscape, and so that's something I just wanted to kind of touch on how to fix what I'm doing and the type of work. So my mentality is a little bit different. I don't look at the job the same. I look at it as just a way to fund other things that I need to do to get out of that system.
Wow, that's such a good point, CJ, too. Like you said, you're in that workforce now, and you may know, I'm not in this position right now to just, up and leave, because especially if there's no need to, right? But you see what's happening around you, and you're not thinking, oh, I still got another 20 years here and I'll be able to retire. Like some of your colleagues might be thinking. It's like, nah, I see what's happening, and I'm putting in the work and investing in these companies that that are creating this new system that are going to be replacing your job so that you're still getting paid from that job even when that happens. So I think that's a really, really great point, and appreciate you for sharing that. And they even have that in the deep shift, right? That's shift 14, which is AI in white collar jobs. And it says the tipping point for this would be 30% of corporate audits will be performed by AI. And again, these are those things, like we said, that's that job that a lot of people have had for years, right? Even if I was to go back in the workforce, I'm most qualified to be an executive assistant because that's what I've been doing, in that field of trying to fit into that corporate space as best as I can. But those are the ones that they coming after first. And then they going after the bosses too, because they get in the big dollars, So I think that's a really, really good point, how you really said, I see it happening and I'm putting in the work to invest in it. So by time 2025, you're going to be in position to be okay with, AI is here, you cool, you making money off of that. So thanks for sharing. On on that page 151, I also liked how in this deep shift, they had graphs, right? So even on this page, it says, this is a graph that shows the distribution of U.S. occupational employment over the probability of computerization. So it shows you how employment will go from low, medium, back to high. So again, one of the things they always talk about in the fourth industrial revolution is that need to retrain the workforce, right? We're having the great resignation right now and the great reset and all these other things that come into play when it comes to this fourth industrial revolution that we have to be paying attention to. That's happening. Otherwise, you're going to wake up and be jobless, homeless, and all these other things because it's happening and we can see it happening, and we have to be taking action now, being prepared for it to happen. So thank you for sharing that, CJ, because that was really a great point. Who wants to go next? Oh, did you want to say something else, CJ, about that? Sorry, I see you unmuted.
No, I was just saying thank you. I like how you said that. That's all very true.
Yes, for sure, for sure. All right, Miss Tiny, Jazzy, Mimi, either you want to go next? Oh, I didn't see nobody unmute. I thought I did. Okay, I haven't seen anybody unmute just yet, so I will dive into mine. Some of you may or may not know, but 3D printing is like one of the things that really has enticed me about this whole fourth industrial revolution, because again, we're talking about things that are going to come and disrupt our whole entire lifestyles and how we're doing everything. And it's crazy to see some of it's like problem solution, right? The Hegelian dialect. So it's like when you think about that, you see the problems like the consumer issues and the transportation and shortages here, there, everywhere. It becomes clear on how 3D printing is going to change that and how it will become a norm. So that's something that really shifted my 5-year plan and expedited it. I think after reading this, it kind of just really pushed us all to really focus on getting in motion of that 5-year plan. So for 3D printing, it says the tipping point is the first 3D printed car in production. Okay, a whole car. I know people be like, oh, if you 3D print it, how are they going to have this material to do that? And it's like, they can print anything. They're going to be printing food, organs. Did y'all see the section in here when they said they're going to be 3D printing organs? That means they're going to be able to build people. Like, it's all making sense now, right? You're creating these avatars. And even get into the neurotechnologies when they can really put an artificial memory in your head and like all of these things on how they can create, a human and the things that we need and all these different things. So for me, because it's like, I've been trying to keep it top secret, but I really want to get into the 3D printers. Let me just say that, right? I want to get into 3D printers because if we're moving to everybody is going to have a 3D printer in their house, like everyone has a toilet in their house because they'll be printing their food and printing their clothes, and you shop and then you print it out so that you're not waiting for shipping, then I want to be right there, a part of that. And in that too, I think one of the things that really stuck out was, again, their graph here for the hype cycle of 3D printing. And it's crazy because it's like looking at that cycle, when you look at the graphs and stuff, it's like, okay, well, where are we right now? And it shows you along this slope, like all the different things that would happen. But along the bottom, along the, x-axis, or which represents time versus expectations. And it goes from less than 2 years to more than 10 years. It says innovation trigger, peak of inflated expectations, through of disillusionment, slope of enlightenment, and plateau of productivity. So again, we all know we be early, never late. So when I seen that and it's like, oh yeah, this is the innovation trigger, something I've always had on my heart and mind thinking about this. It's again, something I want to get into. But I think something that's really important too to touch on while I have the mic now is, and y'all better be getting ready, Tiny, Jazzy, and Mimi, because I'm almost done. But I think something else to point out here was in this deep shift, for each section that they talk about, they also talk about the negative impacts. And they're crazy. But I'm gonna touch on the negative impacts that will come with 3D printing, which is growth and waste for disposal and further burden on the environment, production of parts in the layer process that are anisotropic, i.e., their strength is not the same in all directions, which could limit the functionality of parts, job losses in the disrupted industry, primacy of intellectual property as a source of value and productivity, piracy, and brand and product quality. And that's just from the 3D printing. Because it's like, then you can go to your next shift, which is the 3D printing and human health, which is, again, where they say the tipping point will be the first transplant of a 3D printed liver. That's supposed to be the next that's the tipping point, right? But if you read on, it says the shift in action had already occurred, where the first use of a 3D printed spine implant was reported by a popular scientist already in 2014, where doctors at Peking University Third Hospital successfully implanted the first 3D printed section of a vertebrae into a young patient to replace a cancerous vertebrae in his neck. The replacement vertebrae was molded from the boy's existing vertebrae, which made it easier for them to integrate. And I know we even, again, when you watch that World Economic Fourth Industrial Revolution video, where they really put these visions into your eyes and you can see it, and it starts to, again, make more sense as you're seeing these things actually happening, and it's not hypothetical or conspiracy or any of these other things, but literally happening. But y'all know by the time we hear stuff, it means it's already happened in full effect. So again, to know that these things are happening, it's interesting. Like, okay, so if we're going to talk about those negative impacts though, right? So again, if we're on a 3D printing, what are going to be the negative impacts of that? Well, uncontrolled or unregulated production of body parts, medical equipment, or food, growth and waste for disposal and further burden on the environment, major ethical debates stemming from the printing of body parts and bodies, who will control the ability to produce them, who will ensure the quality of the resulting organs, perverted disincentives for health, if everything can be replaced, why live in a healthy way? Impact on agriculture from printing food. So it's like when you start to think about those negative impacts, and again, that's why I said it was really interesting how they did this section where it's like, okay, this is what we want to do. Here's how we expect this tipping point to make it happen. Here's what we expect it to be happening by 2025. And here's the positive, the negative, and the shift in action that we have to be doing. So it's like, those are negative impacts that we have to consider. And what I'm not going to say what confuses me, but the things that start to make me not question, but just want to dig deeper. It's like a lot of times we hear, oh, the global warming, and we want to protect the environment, and that's why we're having this shift. But when I'm reading, a lot of these negative impacts come with negative impacts on our environment. So it becomes interesting to see, okay, this is what's happening. How can we maybe help it have less of a negative impact, right? Because it's not going to not happen. So if these things are happening, how can we help it make less of a harmful impact of us, right? Because they even said, oh, who's going to be regulating stuff? If you could just print lungs, what would stop you from smoking cigarettes? If you know, oh, when your lung gone, you're going to just go get a new one, right? Then everybody going to just be smoking cigarettes. And it's like, it gets deeper than that, right? It comes down to, you need to be revolutionizing, but finding a balance in between humanity still too, right? And that's why they always say, this is that bridge. This is us bridging humans and technology and the environment all in once here, because they're using the environment and the resources from the environment and mimicking that, right? And it's really interesting to see how all of those things are being combined. So that's how reading this book really, again, I even started writing my business plan for my 3D idea and everything, because at this point it's like, okay, I'm even into NFT clothes, like Zay said, where I would like to be able to have people 3D print my t-shirts instead of me having to mail them out. Why? Because the original would then hold a lot more value and my customers can get them instantly, right? What if you watch me tie-dye it, I send it to you and then you could print it out instant. You could do a lot of really cool things, especially when I get into my little digital accessories that I'm going to be creating soon. So there's a lot of good, there's a lot of bad, but we have to all put in the effort to make it work because it's going to be working. So that's one of those things that stuck out to me. Did anybody else want to share their 5-year plan and how the fourth industrial revolution has altered it? Tiny?
I think CJ was first, if she wants to go ahead.
Okay.
No, go ahead. I mean, I wanted to tell you, like, a side note from that. It was this sheep long time ago called Dolly, and they cloned this sheep.
Yes.
They had already done that in 1996, and they were like, "Wow, we cloned our first sheep." And you're thinking, "Well, how long they been working on that?" And so that just lines up. And Tiny, I don't want to take away from you, but I thought about that. Think about how long they've been working on it. For Dolly, she was walking around eating food, doing whatever all the other sheep were doing. And she died 6 years. I mean, she was doing good. So if they clone sheep, they've been cloning. I mean, who's cloned, right? But anyway,
Okay.
I didn't mean to digress. Let me get off of that subject on the part.
Okay, now that's a good point. What's up, Mimi?
Oh no, I'll let Tiny go. I can go after.
Okay.
Just quick, I just wanted to tap in how, like, just to say, like, how, like, Web3 and the whole revolution, like, it's like the most exciting but the most scary shit in the world, like,
For real.
because you have, like, it opens up all these opportunities, right? But, like, you gotta think, like, not everybody's, like, you know, like normal people like us, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's some wild people out there that, you know, when a majority of those type of people get control of a system like that, you know, how do you control that kind of shit? That's where you got to get into, like, the next level, but I guess we shouldn't really go there.
No, but that's a really good point to make, Tiny. Like you said, it's a great opportunity for all. Even in DeFi, we see that, right? Where you can have pump and dumps and people running off because they are anonymous and you don't know who is who. Like CJ said, you don't know who's clone, you don't know who's. Everybody's using NFTs as their profile pictures now. You don't know who is what and what's going on. And like you said, these people having wrong intentions and having this technology. And one of the things too is, you know, like CJ said, a lot of people have been working on this stuff for a lot longer, right? A lot of people already been known this stuff is coming. A lot of people call this the revenge of the nerds. And hey, I'm okay because I always been cool with the nerds. I was a nerd too in school. So I'm over here like, yeah, y'all remember y'all was making fun of us? Now look at us. So I feel them too. But it's like I said, get in the wrong people's hands, and then that's where things can just start, you know, turning from this awesome opportunity to now it's like, whoa, hold up. I ain't signed up for all that now. So I think that was a good point to make, Tiny. And Miss Mimi, what's going on?
So, oh my gosh, so many thoughts. I'm going to try and keep it clear and concise. So I know we talked last week about our plan, and you know, I have been on a 10-year track for like the last year. So this is year 2 of my 10-year track. So basically my 5-year plan was that I would be halfway to my 10-year goal, or even, you know, further along to that, like the things that I have in place to get to where I need to be at that point. So with that, and with my introduction to, you know, crypto and NFTs and all that stuff, and just the awareness, you know, I feel confident. I feel good. Like, for once, I'm on the front side of things, so to speak, and just having the awareness. So, you know, I always give you props for that, Mo, and just putting me like onto what's to come. So then it kind of makes me think back, though, like, you know, post, or I should say pre social media and, you know, cell phones. Like, I personally had a house phone in my early, adult days and stuff. And so, it was a big deal when I turned off my my landline and I just went for my cell phone. Everybody's like, "Oh my God, like you're really going to give up your landline?"
Right.
And I was like, "Yeah, because I'm never home." And whatever. I think about like just where we are now from where we were like 20 years ago is a huge deal. And then I think about the effects of it. Being in corporate America, things are so electronically based, even in my job. Like, I'm thankful that I can work from home. I'm thankful that there's technology where nobody's concerned about if I'm actually logged in because they can look and see like, hey, she's logged in, she's working. Like my manager, if she had nothing to do, which is never, the case, she could literally look on my computer and see everything that I do. Like she could sit and watch my whole day, everything that I click on, like all of that stuff. So I think about those things, and that's like the negative part. And I think about just taking the personal touch out of it. We live in a world, I feel like now, where people don't know, especially the younger generations, a lot of social anxiety, people back in the day, like we had to, and I'm with you, CJ, I feel like I'm dating myself. If you spoke to someone or you saw someone, it was in person. It wasn't texting, or you picked up the phone and you actually like talked to them. Now it's like, if you call somebody, you are like committing a crime. Like, you actually picked up the phone and called me. So, I think about those things, but the positive is, of course, just streamlining things, and what you were saying about taking the middleman out. Like when I think of business, and it's just, I think staying ahead of it is just having the knowledge, or the people in place with the knowledge, that if there's a glitch in the system or a breakdown in the system, either you know how to approach it, or you know who to call to help you take care of the situation. So it's exciting, but it's like that human connection part of it is like the only thing for me that I get a little bit concerned about. But other than that, like, I feel like it's great. Like I think overall in my life, I'm somewhat of a minimalist. I won't say like everything in my life, but I don't need like a lot of things, or like to have like a whole lot of different things like in my house, or like the tangible things. I don't necessarily have to have the material things. So I like the digital part of it. Like, it's appealing to me in that regard.
No, and that's a good point, because housing, especially with the fourth industrial revolution, as we know, is going to be one of those things that shift a lot. And I know you included that in your 5-year plan. So it's going to be really interesting to see you get into that, see your plan in action, and you made some really good points. I even want to touch on that internet stuff that you said here, because all the stuff that we're talking about is in this deep shift, right? Because these are the things that really stand out to, like Mimi said, that the humanity that's in this revolution, right? Because you can look at things like, oh, these are the numbers, this is the projections, this is how it's supposed to happen. But we have to account for humanity and what's actually about to happen. So it says shift 4, which is one of the earlier shifts. And I don't know if it's in chronological order, but it's shift 4, which is wearable internet. And that's something that's really important, especially when you think about all the things happening right now that everybody is getting, and all these other kind of things. I'm not going to harp on that. I'm just going to dive into wearable internet, which it says the tipping point is 10% of people wearing clothes connected to the internet. And it's like, what? That one even shocked me, because as I just said, a lot of us are into that digital fashion now, right? Where, oh, we can make this t-shirt or even a digital piece. Majority of people make digital fashion that you would never even wear, but your avatar can wear, or you can stake it, or, you can resell it. And that's all you think about. And when you stake it, they call that, oh, where to earn. Or, say I make a t-shirt and somebody in Fortnite is wearing my t-shirt, then, they get per perks for wearing my t-shirt. I get perks for them wearing my t-shirt because I'm a sponsor. And now that's how, sponsorships are going to be transformed in this revolution using that where to earn model, right? So it's like, oh, that simple part makes sense. But when we take it this step further on people wearing clothes connected to the internet, it's like, oh yes, that's connected to blockchain. That's connected to the internet. We're about to be connected. And I think one of the things that was important, again, some of the negative impacts was privacy, potential surveillance, escapism, addiction, and data security, which again, a lot of us, that's like Mimi said, we went from a house phone to a cell phone, and now it's about to be on your clothes. Or even if you have your, Apple Watch, it has all your things that's going on with your body. And moving into this other thing called the shift of action here for wearable internet, it says Ralph Lauren has developed a sports shirt that is designed to provide real-time workout data by measuring sweat output, heart rate, and breathing intensity. And Ralph Lauren is one of those people who have been ahead of this whole where to earn wearable internet as well. And I've actually taken a part of their physical to digital model of, when they first got into it, they created two teams, a team of engineers and a team of creators. So the engineers were creating the software and the creatives were building on top of that. So you guys know the raw realm, we've been trying to figure out the roles in that realm so that we can figure out where to build from there. And at first we had 8, but when I read that and I seen those 2 basic roles, I was like, wow, that's literally all you need. Well, not all, because they still have their whole other team, but we added a few others in there, like, a strategist and different things like that. So I'm not going to harp on that too much. But again, this wearable internet, and Mimi, I know you all into Peloton and working out like you said. So it's like, imagine, like you said, if you're a minimalist and you got on your Ralph Lauren t-shirt and it's telling you your sweat output and your input and your breathing intensity. Because I know it was funny, I was even watching your live yesterday when you were doing your box reveal for Melaleuca, and it's like, and if y'all don't know Melaleuca, make sure y'all get in with Mimi because she is the health and wellness queen and will get your house right. But anyway, she works out as well, and you were saying how you had a breakout and you thought it was because you've been working out more and have been sweating more. So imagine if you had workout outfits that was actually tracking that sweat output, and you could go back and look like, well, I am sweating more, and that's how I can be for certain that, this is what it's that's causing the breakout and not anything else. So it's just crazy, to bring it all together and think like, wow, this is how we're about to be applying what we're learning and how we're going to see it all come into fruition. So really good points you dropped there, Mimi. Thanks for sharing. Jazzy and Tiny, did you guys want to share yours or anything?
Sorry, Renzo's in here talking about cookies like nonstop. Sorry.
No, I get it. Okay, so alrighty. Oh, go ahead, Jazzy.
No, I was I'm multitasking, so okay. I don't even know the question. What's the question?
No, I was just saying, your 5-year plan, because if y'all don't know, Jazzy is already in the first virtual Black mall. Like, she don't be talking all that hype, but if y'all know A Conundrum, and A Conundrum is someone who is on the internet talking that talk, telling people what's happening and to get prepared, and she's putting a lot of work to create the actual first Black virtual mall where they got a movie theater and all kind of stuff, and Jazzy has her Got Your Back apparel line in there. So I would love to hear your 5-year plan, Jazzy, and how the 4th Industrial Revolution has affected that.
Yeah, so you're right. I don't talk about everything that I have going on. Sometimes I forget. I don't, I need to work on just being in the moment and appreciating the things that I am doing. So that needs to be in my 5-year plan. Appreciation. But for the 4th Industrial Revolution, like, I'm trying to figure out, number one, I want all my clothes, like anything that I come out with, I want you to be able to get it virtually as well. But I'm trying to figure out like what will community look like in this new era, and like how I can give back differently in this new era, because even giving back and supporting the community is going to be different. And so like that's what I'm trying to think about now. I'm not sure what it will look like, but that's some things that I'm like trying to consider and what that would look like giving back to the community, since that's like my main purpose. And I'm thinking about like the people who don't have access or like aren't aware of what's happening in front of them. Like, and like some people gonna get it and catch on, some people gonna get left behind. And that may be for me like the new community of trying to give back. So I'm not sure. I just it's a lot to consider with everything that's happening.
No, that's a really good point though, especially because how your business is a part of giving back. I've never thought, I mean, you think about like, oh, how will this affect community, and humanity and how we, talk to each other. But like you said, how does it really affect our neighbor and those that aren't paying attention and those that are going to, fall into that gap? So actually here on this chapter called Society on page 95, it's called the Disempowered Citizen. And I can read here. Let me see. I'll just read this whole little snippet since we done talked about this. So, the disempowered citizen describes the dynamic emerging from the interplay of two trends, one empowering, one disempowering. Individuals feel empowered by changes in technology that make it easier for them to gather information, communicate, and organize, and are experiencing new ways to participate in civic life. That's us. We all excited. We see this finally as an opportunity to get out of our, old path that we may have been on and see, oh, this is how we can step into that next level, right? But at the same time, individuals, civil society groups, social movements, and local communities feel increasingly excluded from meaningful participation in traditional decision-making processes, including voting in elections, and disempowered in terms of their ability to influence and be heard by the dominant institutions and sources of power in national regional governance. At its most extreme, there's a very real danger that governments might employ combinations of technology to suppress or oppress actions of civil society organizations and groups of individuals who seek to create transparency around the activities of governments and businesses and promote change. In many countries around the world, there is evidence that the space for civil society is shrinking as governments promote legislation and other policies which restrict the independence of civil society groups and restrict their activities. The tools of the fourth industrial revolution enable new forms of surveillance and other means of control that run counter to healthy societies, healthy open societies. So I think that was a really, really good point, especially like you said, that's something where you can tap in and say, hey, and I understand going, like they said, go try to be transparent and, put the government and all them on blast, because that's not what we about, right? That's not how you save the world. That's just how you hurt yourself. It's like, no, we could see what's happening and we can help that in between, right? Because like you said, there are going to be those disempowered people who still want to be involved and don't want to be reliant on all the government systems that are going to be in place, because again, we know that this comes with a lot of different things. So I think it's really important, like you said, to just think about that and think about how you can be transforming that in this revolution as well. So really excited to see all that you do in the next 5 years and all that you come up with in that. And it's crazy because we have to think about those citizens that are going to be hurt by this revolution. I mean, we all know our family, especially the older generation, the younger generation, who they have an idea on what's happening, but they're young, right? They have no idea what it means of what's happening. So for us that are aware and are learning, putting our minds, even us coming together now to talk about this kind of stuff, even what we're doing with the raw realm and building, this, physical to digital. So anybody with a business can come and learn how to digitize their business so that, like you said, Jazzy, not only can you get your physical sweatsuit, but you can get your digital one as well and be repping that got you back in the metaverse. So really good point that you hit there. So thank you for sharing. And y'all, we went in. I think we hit like early topic type stuff on here. Is there anything else? Oh, you know what? There was one word. I had put out a post that was a bonus, and I said, were there any words or other topics that had kind of stuck out to you guys? So I'm pulling up my notes here because I wrote it in my note. But before I pull up mine, was there any word or concept or idea that you guys wanted to touch on that kind of stuck out to you? Zay?
I have the word.
Yes.
It was the supercomputer.
Okay.
I don't know why that stuck out to me so much, but I watched that. I watched the supercomputer beat the people. It was a Jeopardy thing. I watched Jeopardy with my grandma. We were watching on Jeopardy, and they were showing like this supercomputer, which was like in my head, like, this is cool. Let me see if they could beat humans, and it like absolutely did because it's so smart. And that was like, oh, that was 10 years. That was a long time ago. But once I saw it, when I saw it in the book, I'm like, wait, that's the computer that I seen with my grandma beat the people on Jeopardy, which is really cool that they mentioned it because I like Googled that computer, and it can, in 2 seconds, like it can recognize 1 million books. Like this computer is just super, super smart. And it really stuck out because that's the type of stuff that they use in healthcare. And I was in the healthcare field when I used to work in nursing homes, and they were talking about, and this was the ending of maybe last year. No, the beginning of last year. Oh, the years are running through. But in 2021, when I worked in a nursing home in January, they were talking about the supercomputer because they were trying to see if they can detect. They wanted to come up with a new thing to detect viruses faster because of not knowing like the test, the C test, if you get what I mean. But because the C test was coming out false positives and false negatives and all that, they were talking about a supercomputer that would determine if you have a virus or an infection or anything, but it would pick it up and it would know what type of disease you had, like at that moment. I thought it was cool because I'm like, if they can detect that stuff, then you can, there's preventative care, measures people can use. Say if you have diabetes, it told you had diabetes, you just figure that out. There's so much more things you can do to have a healthier life on diabetes than finding out later down the road. Then when your health is like kind of jacked up, then you got diabetes and you're trying to backpedal to being healthy. So that was just, I'm sorry, it was a big long rant, but I think supercomputers are cool. So that was the big thing for me in the book.
No, that's a really great point, especially like you said, when you think about the healthcare industry where it can detect something like that, especially from your experience. I love how everyone has been able to say, hey, this is what I got going on in my life, and I've seen it before, and now that I read this, it's like, oh wait, I've seen that supercomputer, especially like you said, you've seen it on Jeopardy, you heard about it in healthcare, and now we know, oh, this is about to be a real live big part of this revolution that's happening, right? It's about to be replacing a lot of things. And like you said, imagine how much malpractice happens now, right? Because you go to the doctors right now and you're like, look, I got this symptom, I got that symptom, I got this symptom. They're going to write it down and then have to go do some research or think about it, right? Because that's what they do. Oh, this symptom, that symptom equals this. But how many times are they wrong and you end up taking medications that end up messing up something else, and all these things that happen in that medical field? And it's like, no, with supercomputers, all of that can be eliminated. Well, maybe not all, but a lot of that can be eliminated. Where, like you said, you go get your regular checkup and it's going to let you know everything that you need to be working on, even when it comes down to your vitamins and malnutrition, and just like being able to see everything and be able to, like you said, start getting on your road to recovery from that point, rather than it being, years down the line when it's almost too late at that point. That's something to think about. And it's amazing, like you said, to see how those kind of things are going to be able to change humanity. Like, does that mean we're going to live longer? Does that mean we're going to live shorter? Like, how would that really start to affect us and us as a civilization, as a people? So thank you for sharing, Zay. I really like that supercomputer one. I got mine here. Oh wait, I thought I just had my word. Well, let me go right to the right page. Did anybody else want to share anything that they have found? Because I'm on the wrong page. Let me see. No. Okay. Let me see. Well, let me just pull up the word because I can't find it in my book here, actually. So the word that stuck out to me was the Transnational Family Network. And why did that word stick out to me? Like we all said, the stuff that we're doing now and how that's changing it. So and I wish I could just find this page. Let me go check again. It's not on 82. I thought it was on 82. No, I guess not. I guess I got it wrong. Okay, sorry. So the Transnational Family Network, right? What does that even mean? So if you guys have family abroad or in different states, you are communicating in different ways now, right? Where it's not like, back in the day where all of our families would get together for family reunions. I mean, it still can be. But imagine if we keep going down this track of social distancing and, everybody kind of being used to doing their own thing. I bet there haven't been family reunions happen in the past, 2 years now, right? So think about that, right? You're used to getting your whole family together and all this, but it's like when you have the internet and you're able to communicate with members of your family, and now they don't even have to be technically your blood family necessarily if they've connected in so much that you're like, man, this is really my family because we've connected so much digitally, working so much digitally, and nah, this family here, and everybody gets to that point of like, friends and family, where you're like, nah, this is blood is one thing, but this, another level of family too. So that thinking of that Transnational Family Network and what that means and how I'm applying that, right? I live across the country from everybody that I know. I don't know, So me having to always use different forms of communication to be able to talk to anyone is how this has started happening, right? This is creating this Transnational Family Network. My son talks to all of his grandparents via FaceTime and Duo and different online things like that. He's going to school right now on Zoom and on different platforms that are giving him this stuff, we even have a play date with me, Zay, and Tiny, because it's like, we all got our kids at home. Let's come together at least once a week and let our kids, see each other and be able to play with each other, because that's not something that they have. That's even something me and my husband were talking about yesterday, where I'm like, we grew up around our cousins, our aunts, our uncles right here babysitting us right outside. You go play with them down the street or whatever the case may be. But that family dynamic is shifting in that. So when I seen that Transnational Family Network, it really stuck out like, this is really going to change the dynamic of so many things, especially when we think about the fourth industrial revolution and how it's also globalization, right? Which means it's not going to just be about, what country and what city, but no, it's going to be open borders and one order and universal this and universal that and universal, because we're all going to be under the same ordinance type of thing. So just understanding how that, again, opens up borders and you being able to, I think they even gave an example on like, they always say, we all from Africa. So it's like we all done did lineage tests and seeing, where our blood came from. Imagine if they gave you a number to your auntie in Africa too. And they're like, yeah, you can go ahead and call her. Like, how would that change the dynamics of what is going on? And because I know they already do that, right? With your family that's right around you. And they're like, here's their Facebook. Here's their name, when you really get into building that family tree with them. So it's like, no, imagine they could be like, here's your great grandmother and them back in Africa, and these are your cousins that's still here. And now you can even see, you might have land and your name might mean something else in other places, and all these things that you may not have even imagined were possible are now becoming possible. You know, you're starting to build with people in different ways. And that's something, when I started this Discord for the Grand Life Network, I understood in this new world order, you have to have an ecosystem, because you're not going to make it by yourself. It's impossible, right? I mean, seclusion, cool, whatever, you be by yourself, but we still come together on this internet and talk about what's happening, strategize, and try to support each other, right? Because that's what I always tell y'all. That's how you can be successful regardless of whatever's happening. If we all supporting each other and uplifting each other, then we're going to be good. We keep growing these networks, especially, like I said, the Raw Realm. Y'all know that joint's growing every day, getting more creators, more people with more skills that's just out of this world. And it's like, as you continue to align with people like that and your network continues to grow, y'all know your network changes your net worth. So you build in that ecosystem, and these people that are around you is what's going to be making the difference within these next 5 years. Because like we just said, the clock is ticking. We really only got 3 years right before 2025 rolls around. And then we see a lot of this stuff into play. So we've read the book. We understand what the mission is. We understand some of the ways that, you know, they think that they can get there and make it actually come into fruition. And now it's just a matter on us to really be preparing, stick to it, and stay on track. You know, keep that tunnel vision, understanding, man, 10 years from now, all of this stuff is going to be, again, something that we are not even going to be able to imagine. So it's been really awesome talking with you guys about the fourth industrial revolution, diving in. Really happy to hear everybody's juiced up 5-year plans. And like I said, I can't wait to see them. But 2025, we're going to be, you already know, we be talking, we're going to be on islands and all kind of places. So did anybody have anything they wanted to share, though, about anything, the fourth industrial revolution, the book, a thought, whatever, before we go? Nope. Alrighty. Well, thank you for joining, ladies. This has been another great session. To all of our listeners, thank you for listening. Y'all hear it go down in book club day, okay, on book club day. Grand Life Network, we are here to stay. And it's an honor being able to meet with you guys all the ways that we do. So all of our listeners, if you want to be a part of the conversation, join us, because we're building, and we want to be building with others that are willing to put in the work, because again, we're putting in that work, and we want to be connected with others that are willing to work as well. So if that's you, hit me up and you can come join the conversation, and let's get to work. Peace.